Welcome back. You're watching the CNBC TV 18 special. We're in conversation with Deloitte's Gary Coleman. Let me talk to you about auto, because that is a sector, especially as far as manufacturing is concerned, India has had a good track record, and this is an area of opportunity that you believe India will continue to enjoy. What makes you so confident about the auto story, and what is going to be the big opportunity here? Because we've already seen a fair degree of juice as far as the manufacturing space is concerned, even in the auto ancillary business.
The automotive area for India, it appears to be attractive, and it could also be another sector that could outpace India's general GDP, and it's primarily because of what India has to offer into that space. If you think of the shop floor of an automotive manufacturer of tomorrow, it's going to be filled with automation, with systems and new technology, and you compare that to the number of engineers that India produces every year and the effort that the administration is making around educational and labor reform to match skill sets. It just seems to be a converging area that makes the automotive sector attractive for India.
BFSI, banking and financial services, that of course is the big area of opportunity, not just the traditional banking and financial services space, but what we're also now seeing in terms of the big push towards no-frills accounts that the Prime Minister has announced, which the previous government had done as well, this whole move towards biometric smart cards and so on and so forth. What are you most excited about as far as the BFSI pie is concerned?
I think it's the new products and services that's going to be demanded of the middle class. Right now, there's not too many bank accounts, and there's not very many savings products that are out there or annuity products that are out there. And as the middle class grows and becomes more wealthy, both in terms of volume as well as sheer wealth, those people are going to be looking for new products and services coming out of the banking and security sector, and that's just going to be a high-growth area coming up for India.
But do you see significant investments coming in, for instance, from private equity? Because, you know, they've nibbled at the Indian market. Exit options have been hard to come by, and which is why they're sort of in this catch-22, whether they should put in more money into India or not. But do you really see the emergence of big-ticket hedge funds investing into India, besides, of course, the normal FIIs who have been putting money into the Indian stock market?
I think it depends upon the regulation of the financial securities area. I know that banks are looking into India. They're looking at a population of 500, 600 million people that are going to want banking products. And if the public policy and the regulation is going to promote pro-business and allow foreign direct investment to come in, I think that you'll see more FDI coming into the banking sector.
So it's all dependent on the kind of changes that the regulators are going to make and how quickly they make them.
I think for India, it's a lot about new public policy. And you heard your administration, make it in India. Again, people are looking at the growing GDP that you have, the growing middle class that you have, the growing wealth that you have, and that represents opportunity for business. But the public policy does need to change. It needs to be easier to do business with, and of course, infrastructure is an issue, and we need to see investments in infrastructure also.
Construction, that's another big area of opportunity that you talk about, and we've just seen the government relax further the norms as far as FDI into the construction space is concerned. Do you see this as being an area where we are going to see big-ticket foreign money coming in?
Well, you saw that in at least commitments from Japan and China recently when your Prime Minister visited those countries. So I do believe the construction industry is another sector that could grow faster than your GDP, and I do believe that you'll see FDI coming in there. But again, it's predicated on the fact that within the next 12, 15 months, there needs to be a meaningful change in public policy and the beginnings of meaningful investment in infrastructure.
Infrastructure deficit. You preempted my question because, $100 billion worth of stalled projects over the last few years. The government is saying the right things. Getting them done is a different matter altogether. How big an opportunity is the infrastructure and the energy space, because it's linked to that at this point in time, given where we are in terms of public policy, given where we are in terms of regulatory uncertainty, the fact that we don't even have regulators for sectors like coal and so on and so forth?
Well, I do believe infrastructure and construction is going to be a major sector for India. But the government and business have one thing in common, and that is that there can be a lot of statements around strategy and vision, but at the end of the day, to make something happen, something has to be implemented. And I think that's really what the story is about India. India has a great opportunity in many of the sectors that we just described, but at the end of the day, it really is going to be about implementation of new public policy.
So do you buy the government's claim that in the next 2 years we are going to be able to move from 142, which is where we're currently at on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business report, to about 50?
I'm not sure about 50, but I am optimistic that that the rankings will go up. I think India is going to improve. And keep in mind that the World Bank ranking is a very a trailing type or lagging indicator, and so a lot of the data that's in there that
right.
generated the ranking of 140 or 142, whatever it is it could easily be based on something around 2012. So
we could actually look a lot better.
I think that the next time it comes around, at least in 1 or 2 years, you're going to see an improved ranking for sure. Again, predicated on the implementation of public policy.
You know, what about the global story? And if the emerging markets, the other emerging markets, were to bounce back, would India still look as attractive as your report makes it sound today?
I think so. There's plenty of room for global growth, and every country tends to have their own competitive advantage. So clearly India is not going to be a big player in certain markets where it has no competitive advantage. But as the global economy grows, I think that's just going to bode well for India, and India ought to be able to catch that wave.
From a structural reform point of view, what do you think should be the priority as far as this government is concerned?
I would say 2 or 3 things. One is infrastructure, 2 is innovation, and 3 would be some of the things around public policy that I just talked about. The one area that we didn't touch was innovation, and I think the government cannot mandate innovation, but government can provide an environment that allows innovation to be established and to thrive. And so things like transparency and equal access to information, incentives for research and development and new product launching, easy to register new products and easy to register new companies. Those are the kinds of things that governments can do. What
is the single biggest concern you think that foreign investors are weighing when they look at India at this point in time?
They're looking at cost advantages and stability. Investors, they don't like instability. They don't like uncertainty. So anything that the government can do to create stability is going to be a big factor to attract foreign direct investment. The other is labor pool. And by labor pool, I don't just mean people who are able to work. I mean people that are not only able to work, but have the skill sets that match what businesses are requiring.
Predictability is one thing, and we know the issues surrounding retrospective tax concerns. But outside of that, in terms of cost competitiveness, in terms of cost advantage, where is India in the pecking order today?
India would be at one of the lower cost areas. We talked about the labor costs before, but India also has some areas that are higher cost. So, for example, logistics tend to be higher in India just because it's very difficult to move raw materials from point A to a manufacturing facility, and then to move finished goods out of the facility along the highways, along the rails, to the ports if they're being exported. So in that sense, manufacturing investment for areas in which logistics costs are high isn't going to be something that people are going to invest in India until the infrastructure gets addressed.
So you continue to see the advantage on the services side, manufacturing perhaps in the next couple of years if what the government has promised is actually executed. So it will continue to be services-led.
Yes, I think right now the economy is services-led. Different than China, for example. There never really was that manufacturing in between agriculture and services. You basically went right from agriculture to services. And that's going to stay. The other thing that's a great advantage of India deals with areas like information technology outsourcing. You have the world's market share today. That's likely to continue. The challenge really is that it's a relatively small base and employs maybe only about 3 million people. But still, that's an example of where India does have a competitive advantage.
You know, there's many campaigns, Digital India, Make in India, Smart Cities, and the government, we don't know what they mean, but the government plans to launch about 100 of them, whether they're new or existing or a mix of both. What are you most excited about from what you've heard so far from the government?
I actually am excited about the simplicity of their vision. Make it in India. It's a very simple tagline, but it has huge meaning for India. And so I'm actually excited about the administration's simplicity of their pro-growth strategies. To me, that goes a long way. It's easy to understand. And as I said, if we can find some meaningful steps in true implementation in the next 12, 15 months, I'm optimistic on India.
So the world is ready to re-engage with India?
I think it is.
Gary Coleman, it's a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much for joining us on TV 18. Well, that is a wrap on this special edition. We'll see you again next week. Till then, from the entire team, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.